You know what's wild? Will Smith used to be broke. Like actually broke. Not the "oh, I can't afford that fancy car" broke, but the "IRS is after me for $600,000" kind of broke. The kind where you wake up sweating in the middle of the night because you don't know how you're going to fix this. And now look at him. One of the biggest stars on the planet. But here's the thing everybody gets wrong about Will Smith. They think he made it because he's talented, because he's charming, because he got lucky. And sure, all that stuff helped. But that's not why he made it. He made it because he believed in himself when nobody else did, and he worked harder than everybody around him thought was even possible. There's this thing Will talks about that I think about all the time. He says the separation of talent and skill is one of the most misunderstood concepts for people trying to excel. Talent is something you're born with. It's natural. Some people can just do things easier than others. That's talent. But skill is something you develop. It's hours and hours of beating on your craft, and Will says he's never really viewed himself as particularly talented, which sounds insane when you think about it. This is Will Smith we're talking about, but he genuinely believes that where he is came from skill, not talent. It came from work. He tells this story about when he was a kid and his dad tore down this brick wall in front of their business, just completely demolished it. And then he told Will and his little brother to rebuild it. These are kids, right? Like 12 and 9 years old or something. And they're looking at this massive pile of bricks thinking there's absolutely no way we can do this. It's impossible. They spent months on it, every day after school, weekends, just laying brick after brick after brick. And Will said there were so many times they wanted to quit, so many times they thought it couldn't be done, but their dad wouldn't let them stop. And eventually, after more than a year of work, they built that wall. And when they stepped back and looked at it, his dad said something that Will never forgot. He said, "Now don't you ever tell me there's something you can't do." That wall became the foundation of everything Will believes about life. You don't set out to build a wall. You don't wake up and say, "I'm going to build the biggest, baddest wall anyone's ever seen." Because that's overwhelming. That makes you want to quit before you even start. You just lay one brick, and you lay it as perfectly as a brick can be laid. And then you lay another one, and you do that every single day. And eventually, you look up and you've got a wall. That's how you build a career. That's how you build a life. That's how you build anything worth having. Will's whole philosophy comes down to this. He doesn't believe in backup plans. He thinks backup plans are for people who don't believe in themselves enough. And I know that sounds extreme. I know it sounds reckless. But think about it. If you've got a backup plan, part of your brain is already accepting the possibility of failure. Part of you is already preparing for what happens when this doesn't work out. And Will refuses to operate like that. When he decided to become the biggest movie star in the world, that wasn't a dream. That wasn't a hope. That was a decision. He decided it, and then he went to work making it happen. There's this amazing thing he did early in his career that shows you how his mind works. He went to the video store and he looked at the top 10 movies of all time, just studied them, wrote down what they had in common, and he found a pattern. 8 out of 10 had special effects. 9 out of 10 had special effects or creatures. 10 out of 10 had a love story, so he literally created a formula. He told himself, if I make films with special effects, creatures, and love stories, I can be the biggest movie star in the world. And then he went out and did exactly that. Independence Day, Men in Black, I Am Legend. He followed the formula and it worked. Not because he got lucky, not because someone handed it to him, because he studied success and then worked his ass off to replicate. Will Smith failed, like really failed. After he became a successful rapper with DJ Jazzy Jeff, he made so much money so fast that he thought he was invincible. He spent it all, on everything. Cars, houses, clothes, jewelry, whatever he wanted. And he didn't pay his taxes. He just didn't pay them. Thought he was too big, too successful, too young to have to worry about that stuff. And then the IRS came after him for $600,000, and he had nothing. He'd spent it all. He was completely broke and in massive debt. That's when he got the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And people think that show was his big break, this lucky thing that fell into his lap. But he took that show because he was desperate. The IRS was garnishing 70% of his paycheck from that show for the first 3 seasons. He wasn't living large, he was trying to survive. And that experience taught him something crucial. It taught him that talent without discipline is worthless, that success without structure will destroy you. He realized he needed to be more than just talented or charming or lucky. He needed to be smart, strategic, disciplined. He needed to work, so that's what he did. He outworked everyone. On Fresh Prince, while other cast members were relaxing between takes, Will was studying every single person on that set. The writers, the directors, the camera operators, the editors. He wanted to understand how all of it worked, because he knew this show wasn't going to last forever, and he needed to know how to build something bigger. There's this thing Will says about running and reading. He says there's no easy way out. If you want to run a marathon, you've got to run the miles. There's no pill you can take, no shortcut. You just have to put one foot in front of the other for 26 miles. Same thing with reading. If you want to have read a book, you've got to read the pages, all of them. Nobody can do it for you, and he applies that same logic to everything in his life. If you want to be successful, you have to do the work, all of it, every single day, even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. He talks about the difference between fault and responsibility in a way that completely changed how I think about life. He says fault is about the past. It's about what happened to you. And sure, a lot of bad things that happen to us aren't our fault. We get dealt bad hands. Things happen that are completely out of our control. But responsibility is about the future. It's about what you're going to do about it. And Will says it doesn't matter whose fault it is that something is broken. It's your responsibility to fix it. It's your responsibility to make your life what you want it to be. Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's going to do it for you. You've got to save yourself. This mindset is what separated him from everybody else. When he decided to transition from TV to movies, everyone told him it couldn't be done. TV actors don't become movie stars. That's not how it works. Especially black TV actors in the 90s. The industry had this whole set of rules about who could do what and who could be successful where. And Will looked at those rules and said, "Watch me break them." He didn't wait for permission. He didn't wait for someone to give him a chance. He went out and created his own chances. He took meetings. He pitched himself. He convinced people who didn't want to be convinced, because he believed in himself more than they believed in their own limitations. And when he got those first movie roles, he didn't just show up and do his job. He showed up earlier than everyone else. He stayed later. He knew his lines better than anyone. He knew everyone else's lines. He studied the script until he understood not just what his character was doing, but why the whole story worked the way it did. He made himself impossible to ignore, because he understood something fundamental about success. Being good isn't enough. Being talented isn't enough. You have to be undeniable. You have to make it so obvious that you're the right choice that people would be stupid to pick anyone else. Will talks about fear in this really interesting way. He says he's terrified of everything. Flying, heights, you name it. But he refuses to let fear control his decisions. He tells this story about going skydiving and being absolutely convinced he was going to die. The whole plane ride up, he's panicking. His heart's racing. He's sweating. He's thinking about every possible thing that could go wrong. And then he jumps. And the second he's out of that plane, the fear disappears. It's just gone. Because the thing he was afraid of is happening, and he realizes it's not that bad. It's actually amazing. And he realized that's how fear works. The fear is always worse than the actual thing. We build it up in our heads and make it into this monster. But when we actually face it, it's never as bad as we thought. So he started running toward fear instead of away from it. Whenever he felt afraid of something, that became a sign that he needed to do it. Because that's where the growth is. That's where the opportunity is. Everybody's running away from the hard stuff, from the scary stuff, from the things that might not work. So if you run toward it, you've got less competition. You've got more opportunity. And you grow into someone who can handle bigger and bigger challenges. The work ethic thing with Will is genuinely insane. He talks about the treadmill test. He says if we both get on a treadmill, one of two things is going to happen. Either you're going to get off first, or I'm going to die on that treadmill. Those are the only two options. He's not getting off. Period. And that's not just talk. That's how he actually operates. When he's preparing for a role, he doesn't just learn the lines. He becomes the person. For Ali, he trained like a professional boxer for a year. For the pursuit of happiness, he spent time with homeless people to understand what that life felt like. For Concussion, He studied the science until he could explain chronic traumatic encephalopathy like he had a medical degree. He doesn't do anything halfway. And here's the thing that makes Will different from a lot of other people who talk about hard work. He genuinely loves it. He's not grinding and suffering and hating every minute. He loves the process. He loves getting better. He loves seeing himself improve at something. He says the only thing he really loves is when he's working on something and he feels himself getting better at it. That feeling of progress, that feeling of growth, that's what he lives for, not the awards, not the money, not the fame, the work itself. People always want to know the secret. They want the shortcut, the hack, the one thing that's going to change everything. And Will's answer is always the same. There is no secret. The secret is there is no secret. It's work. It's belief. It's consistency. It's showing up every single day and doing the thing even when you don't want to, especially when you don't want to. Because the difference between who you are and who you want to be is the work you're willing to put in. He's got this thing about making a choice versus making a decision. He says most people make choices. They choose to try something. They choose to work hard for a while. They choose to pursue a goal. But a choice has wiggle room. A choice can be unmade. A decision is different. A decision is permanent. When he decided to become the biggest movie star in the world, that wasn't something he was going to try. That wasn't something he hoped would work out. That was reality. He decided it, and then his only job was to make reality match his decision. And he says that's the level of commitment it takes. You can't kind of want it. You can't sort of work for it. You have to decide it's going to happen and then refuse to accept any other outcome. This connects to something else he talks about, which is the idea of dying empty. He says at the end of your life, the most selfish thing you can do is die with potential still inside you, with ideas you never executed, with dreams you never chased, with work you never did. Because that wasn't just yours. That was something you were supposed to give to the world. And if you don't give it, nobody else can. Your unique perspective, your unique talents, your unique contribution to the world dies with you. And that's a tragedy. So he's obsessed with this idea of emptying himself out, of leaving everything on the field, of making sure that when he goes, there's nothing left that he should have done but didn't. The self-belief part is almost harder to explain than the work part, because the work you can see, you can measure it, you can quantify it, but the belief is internal. It's this deep knowing that you're going to make it even when all the external evidence says you won't. Will had that from the beginning, when he was a broke rapper, when he was in debt to the IRS, when he was a TV actor being told he'd never make it in movies, when he was being told he wasn't right for roles, when movies flopped. Through all of it, he never stopped believing, and not in this delusional way. He wasn't ignoring reality. He was creating a new reality through his belief and his work. He talks about how your thoughts and your words create your reality, how the things you say to yourself become the things you believe, and the things you believe become the actions you take, and the actions you take become your results. So he's incredibly careful about what he allows himself to think and say. He doesn't do negative self-talk. He doesn't entertain doubt. He doesn't give energy to fear. Because he knows that's how you sabotage yourself. That's how you create the very failure you're afraid of. And look, I know this all sounds like motivational speaker stuff. I know it sounds like the kind of thing that's easy to say and hard to actually live. But with Will, you can see it. You can see the results. This is a guy who went from broke and in debt to building a career that's lasted decades across multiple industries. Music, television, film, production, social media. He keeps reinventing himself. He keeps staying relevant. He keeps working. And it's all built on these same principles. Belief and work, that's it. That's the whole thing. There's this beautiful thing he said once about greatness. He said greatness is not this wonderful esoteric, elusive, godlike feature that only the special among us will ever taste. It's something that truly exists in all of us. And the way he sees it, it's very simple. You either make a commitment to be great or you don't. That's it. It's a choice. Not everyone's going to be LeBron James or Muhammad Ali or whatever, but everyone can be great at something. Everyone can make a decision to be undeniable in their own way, to be the best version of themselves, to refuse to settle, to refuse to quit, to refuse to accept limitations. The wall his dad made him build became a metaphor for his entire life. One brick at a time, perfect as you can make it. day after day. No shortcuts, no excuses, just work. And eventually you turn around and you've built something incredible. Something that